I would love to know, the first question we always ask is, what is your personal why? Yeah, what's your why? What wakes you up in the morning?
Very good. No, I think I'm over the years become more and more engaged in making things better. Basically, I've learned over the years that whatever we were taught in school, that it's good, better, best. Actually, better is better than best, and the opportunity of contributing and making things a little bit better for people is what drives me in the morning.
Oh, that's a good one. Better is better than best
Mm.
because at best you've stopped working, right?
Exactly. I think there is no. I think it's a typical IKEA thing also that we are good at recognizing and celebrating when we achieve something, but then we're quite good at thinking, okay, what do we do from now? How do we take things to the next level? And to be honest, I think over the years when I started with the company many years ago, there were a lot of things that excite me. But over the years, I've learned to appreciate that the vision of IKEA is actually not an after construction or not a sideline, but actually deeply embedded into the heart of what we do. So the aspect of creating a better life for people, obviously in life at home, being IKEA, but also expanding that to our value chain and people who are engaged in what we do, and maybe a bit beyond when it comes to areas as people and planet as well.
So you mentioned making a better life for people, but what exactly is the mission statement for IKEA?
So it's the mission statement is to create a better everyday life for the many people. It was,
Mm.
I think, it was written the first time and shared internally back in 1980. But it was sort of very early with our founder Ingvar Kamprad, who started the company about 80 years ago. I do believe, as a 16-year-old, that he was actually back then. His father had to actually co-sign for the company. He was not even old enough to own a company in Sweden back then. But from the start, it was about entrepreneurship, earning money, creating success. But there was always some passion from him to see what we could contribute with to society, and a bit of depth in his own personality to want to go beyond just making the euros or dollars or Swedish kronas. So that's what we are about. We are actually today. Not many people know that, but we are a foundation. So at the top of my organizations, the owner is a foundation, and the only way, so to say, our dividends can be spent is through philanthropy. So it's an interesting way of serving that purpose in many ways through the business and through the ownership structure, actually.
Wow, I was just interviewing someone who said that their goals for each year in their business is not the ability to earn a certain amount of revenue for the company, but rather is in their ability to give, how much they can give away at the end of the year, which does require earning revenue. But there are not a lot of organizations out there that have that kind of structure. I mean, I
Mm,
think that is some of the tension you're seeing right now in the world
mm,
around people's perception of corporate greed
mm.
and leaders generally. And not a lot of people know that about IKEA. Do you feel like that makes a difference in your culture?
Absolutely. And I get reminded when you say that I need to write on my list for the next year to get better in spreading that message, because I think
Yeah.
on one hand it feels right and important, but it's also, I think, to give people a couple of more reference points on what I believe is the new and the modern way of leading companies. But having that said, I think for us, let me put it like this: to earn money is an amazing way to gain resources, so we can expand what we do, including then creating jobs, having impact, positive impact on people and planet, making lives at home accessible for people, and so forth. And what I try to do is to resist the myth that being a good business and doing good business would be uh, in any way controversial or in conflict with each other. But on the contrary, I think through my years in IKEA, I've discovered over and over again, through so many examples, by being a good business, we actually do good business. And when it comes down to start reflecting on that, it makes a lot of sense. But I have to admit also that we are at the tipping point in the world right now. Climate questions, people questions, where it also becomes obvious that there is a short termism in the world that I think needs to be challenged, and would also from a corporate perspective would be a bad idea when you think about the young generations growing up, how they choose their brands and their employers of the future.
So I was talking to a CEO offline a couple weeks ago, and they were saying that they feel just as exploited as the frontline worker. That was their
Mm.
quote. And I asked him what he meant, and he said, I don't have nearly as much power as the people in my company think I have. I am
Mm.
controlled by the investors in the business who have shareholders and expectations. And there's a lot I would love to do.
Mm.
I would love to invest in other areas. I would love to give more to my employees. But if I do that, I would be pushed out, and then the next person would come in and they would put the shareholder needs first, and we would be in a
Interesting.
worse position. So what do you say to the CEO that doesn't have the kind of structure that you have, that is in, let's say, an American public company that
Mhm.
has shareholders that they're accountable to, that loves what you're saying, but feels like they're stuck?
Mm. Good luck. No, I think now to be to be a little bit serious, I have deep respect for that. I to that point, my life is much easier. Being a fund again, the shareholder of the company, if the foundation, if they put pressure on me and us to do more and faster when it comes to investing long term in the future business model, allowing us financial means to do long term investments and so forth. I can give you a side note. It just popped up in my mind now. One of the last meetings I had with our founder before he passed away, 91 years old, I asked him, sharing a coffee, a sunny summer day, and I asked him, how should we think about the future? Just a nice conversation. And he said, you should think long term, he said. I said, okay. So how long term? He said, yeah, 200 years would be good, he said. And it stays with me. And of course, um, those companies and the, if you like, the business model of the 1900s or such, where, so to say, the overemphasis on capitalism and short-term gains is, of course, I think, not the optimum model. And I would say, obviously, I'm not anti-earning money. On the contrary, I think there is a risk with short-termism. You can strive for result, and push the agenda, get decisions made, action taken, but you also might avoid doing the right long-term investments. And I do believe in times of great transformation, these are the companies that are at risks of existing, right? Because
Mm.
they might want to get the dividends rather than making bold investments in transformation. Now, tell me any industry today who is not undergoing a transformation, whether it's digital, whether it's climate, where I think people are waking up to understand that climate is not an adaptation from companies, it's a transformation of your business model. Energy, raw material, consumption, mobility, etc. And these are topics where there is no gray zone, really, I found, but it's either you're on that train, you take the risks, you take some pain of it, but you also reap the benefits of it economically. And if you're not, I think you might have some years of okay dividends. But at the end of the day, I think the same CEO might lose the job because you haven't fought enough for the long-term investment and doing what is right for the brand and for people. So again, with the deepest respect, I think we have to ask ourselves sometimes, what is the worst, to lose our jobs or lose our self-respect when we have the opportunity to do what is the right thing to do? Again, it's not easy. I love that they are open about the challenges. That's important.